Hello. I decided it would be a fun way to spend a part of my afternoon doing some editing in real time on camera. Because I've been wondering, like, how do I record and express what I do better to anybody who's viewing this out in the world? Whether you're seeing this on one of my sites where I publish myself and others, whether you're my sponsor seeing this, whether you're a potential funder or something like that, or somebody who maybe wants to get editing services from me or work with me on an editing sort of project, this will give you an idea of how I edit it and how my brain works in this specific context. So I found this document really randomly. I was looking for something else in my Google Drive and I couldn't find it. And I was like, wait, what's this amendment, like resolution thing? Like, what is this? I forget. I can't remember right. And I'm like, my next thought is, oh, this must be something from DSA, because a little less than a year ago, I was a card-carrying, dues-paying member of the Democratic Socialist of America. And it was a really bad experience. Long story short, I have a whole post on my Substack about, or not about, it is literally the letter that I sent to members of NYC-DSA, all the ones whose contacts I had access to through the Signal group chats. It was an open letter that I blasted in all the Signal group chats I was in, pretty much. And then I just left the groups. And then some people DM'd me and, gave me their little tried to make it right when there wasn't really a way to make it right. But that's a story for another day. So this is a resolution on organizational coherence, which is basically, from what I can tell, just reading that title and seeing like who's involved on it. It's basically different members of different branches of NYC DSA coming together to restructure. It's basically org restructuring, but like not ethically, but philosophically. So what can we do to have our organization be less siloed is basically the goal there. But they're always having this same conversation. Like, I was really apprehensive to join DSA the first time it came into my purview when I was living with a bunch of socialists, some of whom were in DSA. And I just observed DSA for a while and let the organization prove itself to me. And it proved to me to be mostly a book club. It didn't feel like anything radical. It didn't feel like anything different from the Democrats. And at the time, I had really been burned by the Bernie Sanders campaign because I just felt like Bernie Sanders wasn't the candidate that I thought he was or would be. And that just left me really disillusioned by politics in general, but more specifically leftist politics. Because as a black femme and an AFAB person, I feel really left behind by orgs like PSL and DSA. And I don't feel that even in these moments of, concerns of organizational coherence, the specific demo and psychographic groups that should be addressed in situations like these usually aren't, or if they are, it very much gives DEI statements at the end of a job description or on the bottom of a website. It does not, in my experience and from what I've heard from other people of my demographic experience, it's not an inclusive space. So that's the introduction to this exercise that you're going to be walking with me through. Yay! So let's get started. Let's get reading. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about whatever member that I know who they are, like had any, chance to relate with them in any capacity. I'm going to point them out. So that's going to be Ronit. Oops, this is really big. Can I, let's see. That's the same size. Okay. Maybe no. Okay, so that's Ronit, who is a part of CBK, that's Central Brooklyn. CLC, I can't remember what it stands for. OC is for Organizing Committee. Don't remember these folks. I know Marina because she was in the Racial Justice Working Group Organizing Committee with me. I know Khalil because I lived with him. We'll get into that. I know Sammy because I lived with him. I know Dan because he was on the Racial Justice Working Group OC with me. Oh no, why did it disappear? Sophia, Camille, Rob. And I've met Robert, but like I don't really know him. So whatever. So here's their rationale section. It's basically an abstract. We're going to read this together and I'm going to take breaks to pause and think. We're going to think together as best as we can in this asynchronous video. But you can pause me whenever. And you can absolutely reach out to me if you ever need to because you want to talk about this. And I'm going to write my email on the screen as best I can. Hold on. Will it let me? Oh my gosh. Okay, it will not let me do that for some reason. Oh, there it is. Okay. Do y'all hear the outside? Do you hear the New York City? That's a U, by the way. I could just say it out loud, but I love making things different or difficult and different. Ooh, this is hard. And I think it's gonna disappear after I do this, but so Jupy at painhub.ny. See? That looks, and also I have to take oh whoops, I can't take a whatchamacallit screenshot of it right now. Oops. Anyway, that's off topic. So those are the people that I know. We can go through a little bit and actually talk about the context just a little bit more. So Ronit is a former IDF soldier. Let's just let that fact breathe. Now, I'm not saying someone who worked for the IDF is necessarily irredeemable or should not be allowed in leftist organizations. That's not at all what I'm saying, especially in a country like Israel that, from my understanding, from my understanding, requires people to go into the military as a part of, I think, their schooling, but I think just their citizenship as young citizens. And maybe that was her situation. I don't know. She did something like coding related. Anyway, because she's a coder now. Anyway, she takes up a lot of space in DSA, in NYC DSA, a lot of space. And if I had to guess, national as well. This is like a well-off white woman. She's in like her mid-30s. She's a pretty young woman. She's very much giving like upwardly mobile, gentrifying the fuck out of Bed-Stuy. Definitely lives in like what probably used to be a black person's home. Her sister lives in like the one below. Like they're just rich. Like whatever family she comes from, they have money. But that's just like a lot of random white people. So anyway, one night at a party at her house, or maybe it was after a meeting. DSA has a lot of parties. Hold on, that's my phone telling me to stop working. LOL. And now I'm going to ignore my phone and continue working. But I had a lot of breaks today because today was really frustrating. So had to let myself take some deep breaths a few times, and that's okay. Let's take a deep breath together. Should have done that first, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot more bullshit to listen to. So this is just to give you some context of who these people are before we read this. So next up, in terms of people that I know, we have Marina Weiss, who was in the Racial Justice Working Group Committee with me. Oh, I forgot to say, Ronit. Oh, I did not finish that story. I'm so sorry. Ronit was like passing around her old like paraphernalia from the IDF to like people such as Camille, and I think Sammy, but like definitely Camille. And they were all oohing and awing at it. Like, it was really weird. I stayed on my phone on the little corner, like, you know, across the way. But yeah, Ronit was also like kind of racist, but like all of these people are. So like that's just a rampant problem in DSA and has been nationwide and has been for a long time. And nobody's actually really doing anything to fix it because white people love running things. So moving on to Marina. Marina is like the most annoying white lady ever. She's also a therapist, and I'm like, yikes. Anyway, she is an anti-Zionist Jew who has been in DSA for a pretty long time, from my understanding. She seems like not a pillar level member because, or maybe she is, I don't fucking know. But she doesn't seem like that to me in terms of her positioning in their hierarchy. But she does show up to a lot of stuff, and she was one of the first people who I saw in DSA because I went to like a Flatbush branch meeting, the one and only branch meeting I ever went to. And of course they went to a bar afterwards because they get drunk a lot. All right, next up is Khalil. So I lived with Khalil. Khalil is basically a leftist landlord, which I just think is hilarious. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to highlight people's names because I could have just done that the entire time. I rented a room from Khalil because my ex pulled the rug out from under me after we departed each other from our lives. And whatchamacallit, I was going to stay with somebody who was their friend. So, you know, they were like, don't let this person stay with you. They're crazy, basically. Again, another story for another day. Probably won't show this to my funders. Just based off of this. Anyway, back to Khalil. Khalil is like a circuit guy. Which, you know, we love, like, drug users and stuff like that. Like, I would say, oh, I wouldn't air out this person's business if these people weren't assholes. So just to let you know, like, my journalistic integrity definitely exists and includes not airing people out about things like health issues and substance abuse issues and stuff like that. But this nigga is terrible. So we're definitely going to air him out. He does a lot of meth. Circuit gay shit. That's basically what I'm getting at. And he also basically doesn't sleep. He does so much free work for DSA and was also working on Brad Lander's campaign at one point. Is there anything? I know he plays football. Oh no, he plays rugby. And he's just really messy. Like, his life is just hella messy. He's a Pisces. Ronit is also a Pisces. What else about Khalil? I honestly don't even like thinking about the living situation I was in with Khalil. Like, I've pushed it to the back of my brain. There is a piece somewhere on one of my computers that I wrote about it to like get it out into the world, but to be honest, I don't know if I'm ever gonna look at it again. TBH. All this to say, Khalil put a disenfranchised black femme into an incredibly harmful and pretty damn near uninhabitable living situation. I lived there for a few months. At some point, I stopped paying him rent because I was like, why the fuck would I pay you $200 a week to live in genuinely some of the most horrid conditions I've ever experienced? I'm talking about dust. I'm talking about the room still had paint buckets in it when I got there. I'm talking about Khalil slams his door every day as he's leaving. I'm talking about his nephew, who is special needs and nonverbal, screeches every day at the same time in the morning every day, and then also throughout the afternoon. And he just has a cry like I've never heard. And I also had to listen to his parents, Khalil's sister and the sister's baby dad, abusing the kid. And then the mom, Khalil's mother, who also lived in the house, just like let it happen and would like blame her daughter for like the things that her boyfriend was doing to her. They also would accuse me of stealing things for no reason. Like, I think they accused me of stealing a garbage bag. Like, and then I have to go to meetings and, like, see Khalil and, like, act normal. All right, next up is a big one. Next up is Sammy Ariani. Sammy is someone I used to live with. If you've read On Cultural Illness, the flagship essay that I'm working on right now that literally might turn into a fucking book. Like, the more I write, I'm at 10,000 words right now, and I'm like, I think I could do this 5 more times. Like, it might be a book. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway, I met Sammy in Hart House, which was a queer, mostly BIPOC living situation. It was a co-op in Bed-Stuy on Hart Street. That's why it was called Hart House. In a split level Bed-Stuy. We had the basement, the middle floor, and the two top floors were another like section of Hart House. Anyway, long story short, we're gonna skip the whole Hart House part because that's not really the part that matters. That's just where I met Sammy. Sammy has a history of some pretty fucked up behavior and like abusive behavior. I have watched Sammy pay for meals for us with his ex's card that he just has on his phone, and then basically told me, because he did like a fake oops, like, oh no, that's Adder's card, like as if he didn't fucking know, you know? And he's just one of those guys that leeches off of every woman in his life, like very uncle coded. Like he was living with Ronit for free for like months. Anyway, he has like allegations, I'm pretty sure. He says he's sober, but he is not like last time I saw him, he was not acting like a sober person. And I've known Sammy when he was really fucked up, and there's similarities. And somebody who can't even be honest about their sobriety with others is honestly like unsafe to me. Because even me at my worst with like my drug usage and like not being honest with myself about my substance abuse, like I was definitely hurting myself and others. So it's just something to consider with him. But he also holds like a pretty high rank and does a lot of work in the organization because he can't keep a fucking job. Moving on, I guess nobody can, but like Sammy's different. Then there's Dan, who's just like a dumbass white guy. Like he's just the type of white guy who like always talks too close to your face, and like when he's drunk it gets worse, and like he's just an idiot. He's like a fucking golden retriever in the worst way. So moving on. Sophia is like a fan of mine. She's a huge fan of mine and my writing, but she also housed my abuser after he did domestic violence against me. So don't know really like what to do with that information. All I know is I have her blocked on everything. Camille was like a faux friend. I thought Camille was going to actually be a friend. We both grew up in the same place, Gwinnett County, Georgia. Camille said, I don't know. Camille just like acted like they were going to help me out as a writer. She works at like Feminist Press. You know, so we had that in common in terms of like being in the literary world together. But when things got really weird with me and I gave up on DSA, her and her friends that were cool with me that summer before just stopped talking to me. Like, just completely stopped talking to me. I think eventually I either blocked them or they blocked me. And we all moved on with our lives. These people are very fickle. Last but not least, we have Rob fucking Katz. Repeat after me. We hate Rob Katz. Thank you. Rob Katz moved me into literally the apartment that I'm in and essentially set me up to be in a bunch of debt. I'm not going to go into the details of it. He also surveilled me in my own home. Like, I felt like I was living in a fucking prison, and he definitely wanted it to feel that way. He wanted to feel like an overseer because it made him feel powerful. Eventually, I used witchcraft. Eventually, I used witchcraft to get his ass out of here. Which he will say wasn't it. He'll be like, oh, I chose to leave. And I'm like, yeah, you chose to leave because I made you go. Anyway, there's no reason to argue over that. Rob Katz is a fucking nightmare. All of these people give CIA. I don't, except for like maybe Khalil. Like Khalil and Dan and Sophia don't give CIA. The rest of them give fucking CIA. Because I just don't. There's just some shit I don't really get. Anyway, we have a text to work off of to exemplify what I'm talking about. So instead of me trying to pull it out of my brain raw, let's look at what we're working with. This is from 2025. In 2025's increasingly volatile political landscape, NYC DSA is rapidly growing, taking on new work and meeting the desires of our membership to respond to urgent developments while sustaining a myriad existing projects and campaigns. As a mass organization, DSA is tasked with being in all sites of struggle in order to build power among a diverse working class and to tailor our interventions to ever-changing conditions. So the thing about this building power among a diverse working class is that to be able to realistically do that, you would have to actually invite a diverse working class population to your programming. And you would have to actually do programming in places that aren't white areas that you feel safe in, like parts of Bed-Stuy. They canvass at Herbert von King a lot, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think y'all would be doing this like 10 years ago even. Like, I don't hear about them canvassing in East New York. You know, it's always these places that have been hit by gentrification. And then they'll tell you that's why they're canvassing those places, but it doesn't actually make sense. In this moment, we benefit greatly from the big tent nature. I fucking hate this phrase. The big tent nature of our membership, which encompasses many different strategic tendencies and ideologies that can contribute to winning socialism. Like, what does this mean? As well as our amalgamation of issue-based working groups that have politically educated their members, developed sharp analyses of relevant conditions, designed focused campaigns, and built relationships with key organizations and coalitions. Yeah, I mean, that's just them saying what they've done. So the organizational coherence resolution represents an important attempt to help external audiences make sense of how our many subgroups contribute to NYC-DSA's vision. Okay. By centralizing the approval of endorsements by subgroups under the elected leadership of the chapter. So let's break that down. The organizational coherence. Hold on, let me pause. All right, to be honest, this doesn't make sense to me. So the resolution is an attempt to help external audiences, so people who are not in DSA, make sense of the subgroups in DSA, which I don't even think that's like really important. You could just make an org chart and call it a day, like put it on a PDF. So they want to do that by centralizing the approval of endorsements. That sounds like power consolidation. That doesn't sound like, as somebody who's worked in nonprofit, the answer is never more approvals. It's never more approvals. You're literally procrastinating. While this is a worthy goal, it runs the risk of weakening our broader project by rejecting the issue-specific expertise developed within our working groups. If we restrict the partnership work of all subgroups under chapter priorities, we'd limit the development of new work, which may fly under the radar during one period, yet emerge as a major priority during another. I mean, that's just the nature of campaigns. Like, that's the nature of issues. Like, they're not very flexible. It feels like a lot of these major leftist orgs can only work on one thing at a time, even when they do have all these subgroups. Because it's the same people doing most of the work. So it's all dependent on how much time that person has in their schedule and how much capacity they have, emotionally and otherwise. Let's see what these changes include. So they are, they are consolidating the subgroups under one process. So branches, working groups, committees, and all other sub-bodies of the chapter are brought under the same endorsement approval process. Standardization and simplifies the process for all parties and allows for previous requests and their outcomes to be more easily cross-referenced. I can appreciate the last part because data is important. And if what they're saying is it's a standardization, okay, that makes sense. But what it's still, like, the first part sounds like, oh, we're going to get more approvals. Establishing a process for requesting endorsement approve. Okay, no. Through submitting an intent to endorse statement, subgroups are encouraged to clearly communicate the strategic rationale, oh my God, for coalitional activities, helping the steering committee to make a decision informed by context, conditions, and relationships with which subgroup organizers might be most familiar. It's so much free work. Like this right here, that is something that someone you pay for ops management does. That is not something that you ask people to do for free. And it's not the type of thing, it's so admin and like nonprofit coded. It's not the type of thing you can even expect the average working class New Yorker to like have the skill set for. Or even if they do, they're doing it at work. Why would they want to come do it for you for free? When they offer nothing. I'm telling you, they offer nothing. So offering guardrails for rationales, we recommend that endorsement decisions be undertaken through acclamation to avoid logistical bottlenecks. Even the language of this is just like, who the fuck are you writing this to? Because you're not writing it to the working class. Even AOC speaks in simpler language than this. Come on, man. Like, they're not being serious. Language is privilege, and they know that. Like, I refuse to believe that these people just don't know what they're doing. These are adults. These niggas is pushing 40. I don't want to hear they didn't know what they were doing. We suggest some baseline agreed upon criteria for rejection of an endorsement. I mean, I would hope that already existed. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a mix between like, why the fuck did you, why are you even doing this work without having that in place? And why are you putting more work that doesn't make sense, like paperwork specifically? Get out in the streets. Get in the streets. And yes, I know they go to protests, but what I mean is like, go talk to your fucking neighbors. None of these people talk to their neighbors, I promise. Like, invite your neighbor to the chapter. Like, I've never seen anybody just be like, hey, this is my neighbor so-and-so. I wanted to bring them to the chapter meeting. Okay, so including a provision for further development of chapter-wide cohesion building. They literally are always talking about this and not actually doing anything. The last section suggests activities might strengthen our shared analysis and outlook. Shared analysis and work. Through this and other changes in the amendment, we sincerely seek to promote cooperation and deepen trust across the chapter. It's our hope that together we can move forward toward an organizational coherence built on the cooperative partnerships and practices of principled struggle. This may include items such as regular cross-body discussions, media and public speaking training for subgroup leaders, and the possibility of adding non-voting members to CLC for working groups meeting a certain activity threshold. So that just the last part is ridiculous. So you can't even vote. You're non-voting, meaning you probably don't pay, or you're not like a card carrying member. So you can't vote, but you're going to ask them to do more work. That literally sounds like slavery. Like that's really, really weird. So it seems like, I remember this meeting now. Yeah, and this is where they amended it. So, speak with a voice while benefiting from the expertise of groups organizing on specific issues. Yeah, like these edits are, hold on. Let's look. So it looks like in this part, they're mostly going into detail about what the intent of endorsement looks like. And I want y'all to stop and read how much fucking work this is. Like, pause it. Yeah, so the objections, like what makes this, the reasons why the steering committee can object to an endorsement are kind of